Factoring and solving a quadratic equation of higher order. When the leading coefficient is not 1, we factor a quadratic equation using a method called grouping, which requires 4 terms. With the equation in standard form, let's review the grouping procedures. Now remember, we also called it the AC method. Number 1, with the quadratic in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, we're going to multiply a times c. Number 2, we find two numbers whose product equals ac and whose sum equals b. 3, rewrite the equation, replacing the bx term with two terms using the numbers found in step 1 as coefficients of x. Number 4, factor the first two terms and then factor the last two terms. The expressions in parentheses must be exactly the same to use grouping. Number 5, factor out the expression in parentheses. And number 6, set the expressions equal to 0 and solve for the variable. Example 4, solving a quadratic equation using grouping. So use grouping to factor and solve quadratic equation 4x squared plus 15x plus 9 equals 0. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, can we factor anything out of these three terms? Well, they don't have anything in common. The second thing is the leading coefficient is not a 1, so that tells us that we need to use the AC method. So remember that the AC method, when we make our x, is that a times c is on the top part and then b is on the lower part. So we take a times c, 4 times 9 gives us 36, so we have 36, and the middle number is 15. So what two numbers can we multiply to get 36? Then we add them together, it gives us 15, which is 3 and 12. So rewrite the first term, which is 4x squared, with these two middle terms now as plus 3x plus 12x, plus the last term, which is 9. And then we group them together. So we have 4x squared plus 3x plus 12x plus 9. Now in the first two terms, what can we factor out that they have in common? We can factor out the variable x, and what's remaining is 4x plus 3. Now whatever you get over here, you immediately write over here and write 4x plus 3, because whatever you get over here, you have to get the same thing over here. And then what that allows us to do is to look back up here and say, okay, well, what can I multiply by 4 to get 12, and what can I multiply by 3 to get 9? Well, you can factor out a plus 3. So now we can factor out the 4x plus 3 and then x plus 3. Now we're going to solve by using the zero product property. So we have 4x plus 3 times x plus 3 equals 0. So we have 4x plus 3 equals 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. Solving for x, we subtract 3 to both sides, and then divide by 4 to get x is equal to negative 3/4. Over here we subtract 3, we get x is equal to negative 3. So in our solutions, it's negative 3 and negative 3/4. Now if you take a look at where it crosses the x-axis, it crosses the x-axis at negative 3, 0, and negative 0.75, which is the same thing as negative 3/4, 0.